here. We're going to have Duraludon VMAX. Wesley is playing that up against Ian Robb, playing a very similar list to what was being played in that sort of Arceus box-style deck that played the Zapdos V, it played other attackers, it played the Dark-type attackers too, and I'm just looking at this Duraludon. I'm speechless. We talked about it. It has the Metagross in it.
This is the coolest thing I've seen in a minute. There is so much going on in this deck list that will surely unveil itself as the game progresses. But we also got a nod over to Ian and what he's bringing. A little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. We see some sweet combinations with that Medicham, and also bringing his favorite Pokemon, likely that Galarian Zapdos V, which was absolutely destroying people left and right in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, Galarian Zapdos V is one of those cards that is very powerful if you continue to have your abilities shut on, again, with that attack, that ability that allows it to deal attack for less energies if your opponent has a V Pokemon play one colorless less with that fighting basis. We're getting into things. It looks like a Galarian Moltres prized over on Ian's side, and interestingly enough, that one copy of Metagross VMAX is up in the prize cards, as well as a Cheryl. That could be some big pieces.
Yeah, we are not going to get to see the full combo there. With that sweet attacker instead, that's going to be sitting in the top of the prize cards. So maybe game 2.
Maybe game 2 indeed. It looks like we are almost ready to get into things here. Prize cards are out. Players are ready to jump into things, and it looks like we are almost ready. And it looks like starting things off, and immediately Ian's going to take a look and say, oh, yeah, Duraludon? All right, not what I was quite expecting to start things off.
Yeah, that is definitely sneaky. Of course, first thing you think of with Duraludon, how many basic energies am I playing? And it looks like Ian has a 6 darkness, 1 fighting count, so is going to have some options there.
Yeah, and this is kind of where things get interesting over. Very interesting energy count, actually, for Wesley, playing no basic fighting, actually opting to play 4 copies of Aurora Energy.
Oh, yeah.
Which does provide every type of energy, but there are some downsides. You're talking about special energy being liabilities. It's unsearchable, but you're not playing an Inteleon engine, and you get to discard a card from your hand, which could be good to thin out, so you can draw more cards off Industrious and Scissors.
Yeah, and we already seen Ultra Ball discarding cards. These Aurora Energy are going to be discarding cards. So making sure that Wesley is making the optimal choices there, making sure that he has all of these different resources in the mid or late stages of the game. That's going to be all on him at this point, and every single card is going to be impactful.
And so many cards we haven't even talked about yet, such as that Bronzong line that comes into play, able to move energies around with its ability, able to use Metal Transfer, an ability we've seen on some Pokemon for different types. I know the last major Bronzong I can remember is the Metal Lynx Bronzong from Phantom Forces to bring energies back, but yeah, that's even close to before my time.
Yeah, that's we were getting desperate at that point, looking for any way to move energies, get things going and accelerate, and that was one of the last times we did that.
Absolutely. Looks like not too much here for Wesley. Is not playing what we usually see paired with Duraludon in that Arceus variant, but we do have the Bronzong come down. You have all of these support Pokemon you want to start things off. Starting to turn down on the bench as Ian will kick things off with the Quick Ball. Has access to Sobble. Potentially able to get something like Keep Calling. And look at that beautiful Energy Search artwork as well. An ode to the classics.
Oh, yeah. There's so many different options, and this is one of the cleanest ones, I'll say. It makes you want to go through all of your old bulk that you have and see if you've got a couple lying around.
It's always fun when a card's reprinted in a former set and you get to go look back and say, oh, this wasn't legal for 5 years or anything like that. And now it ends up working. It's all good. And we are going to see the Quick Ball go ahead and discard the Dark Energy, the attachment to the Moltres, and that's just going to be it for Ian. No supporter card to start things off, but does have this Moltres with 2 energy. A big evolution there into that beautiful gold Bronzong and the Professor's Research to fill the hand up to 7. A few pieces there that are not going to be too important, but there, is the Duraludon VMAX as well as the energy, and at this point, not too much else. I don't even think there's a guaranteed draw support of the following turn, but it does have that Pokegear 3.0. We see that in some of these non-intelligent engines, but man, all these wacky cards we're seeing in these lists.
Yeah, I'm used to only seeing that in my Stone Journer deck, so when it starts to sneak onto the stream at 5-0, and we also saw it earlier last round as well, it makes you start to wonder, oh, okay, maybe this has actually got some bearing to it.
Definitely, indeed. It looks like just going to opt to pass things back over. If you're Ian here, you're in a little bit of an interesting spot. You're used to probably playing against these decks that are pretty straightforward, the Mew decks, the Arceus. As a player, approaching a matchup that's a little bit more awkward, how would you really like mentally go into that and prepare against something that's pretty unknown?
Yeah, I immediately start breaking down what makes my opponent's deck tick. And you start to think, okay, there's some metal energies. My opponent's going to be moving energies around. Does that mean healing? Yeah, I'm probably going to have to work around something like that. There could be some way for my opponent to make use of that. So do I need to start targeting down Bronzong? Do I need to just start working on this Duraludon immediately? So it starts to open up all those different avenues, and I'm sure that Ian's going to land on something that shuts down one of these portions.
Absolutely. Kicking things off in a great fashion with that Drizzile. Shady Dealings, that ability we have mentioned time and time again. I'm sure we'll be saying it plenty more on the stream this weekend. Grabbing a quick ball. And this is exactly what you want to see. Energy in the discard pile means that Dire Flame Wings can bring it back. The Moltres will be online and ready to take a knockout. As well as getting the Arceus down, has not even used the attachment return, as we do see the Dire Flame Wings and the double Turbo Energy come down, but not much else for Ian, as we're going to see the first knockout, Aura Burn dealing 190 damage to that Bidoof. First prize card taken. Taking that Galarian Moltres, the baby one with the Malevolent Charge ability, could be very useful later on in the game to try to string a big knockout onto such a tanky Pokemon like Duraludon VMAX.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like we are going to see this Galarian Moltres V hitting the discard pile relatively soon. If Wesley is going to be able to find that Aurora energy, that's just the way this deck works. It can absolutely just consistently hit big damage on one side, and the numbers start to line up pretty nice for Wesley.
Yeah, this is going to be a big Pokegear. What is the supporter card, if any, off of this? And a big find there finds the Professor's Research. Needed that. The rest of the hand was pretty lackluster. Got to be feeling good there if you're Wesley.
Yeah, that's very clean. We see multiple Pal Pet. I think there's there's 4 Cheryl in this deck, so there are a ton of different options there. But yeah, 4 Professor's Research. You know that Wesley is thinking, I'm going to lose some of these resources. I'm probably not playing 4 Cheryl and 3 of my Pal Pads altogether. And this is the sacrifice you make. You dump these cards and you look for that Aurora energy.
And there it is. Finds the Aurora energy off of that research. Finds 2. Make it 2 Aurora energy. Is able to get that down. He gets to get a Metal Energy discard pile to bring back later on, potentially, with something actually very interesting to look at this list as well. Not playing any copies of Metal Saucer, a card we see a lot of these Metal Energies. You think, oh, it's great synergy. You can Metal Saucer into your Bronzong, then go ahead and move it with Metal Transfer, but no, not at all. And this is a big-time knockout. Wesley going to go down to 4 prize cards, taking the first 2 prize, 3 prize knockout. But things are going to get kicking off very quickly. That Skyscraper ability, very powerful, blocking all damage done to this Duraludon by Pokemon with special energy. However, Ian's going to play around that, bring up this Bronzong with the boss's orders, and say, hey, I'm not swinging into this. I'm going to try and play around for it as long as possible. We know how powerful cards like Galarian Moltres can be later on in the game to put in a lot of work.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier on. You have to be thinking about what makes this combo work, and obviously that Bronzong is a huge portion of it. Being able to move those energies, heal your Pokemon, move them right back on. Wesley could just completely eviscerate everything that you've ever loved with 3 energies over and over and over again. So you have to get rid of this Bronzong right now, and then maybe you can start working on that Duraludon and get that damage that you need.
Absolutely, and it looks like we will see the Trinity Nova announced. Ian going to go down to 4 prize cards. A nice amount. It means potentially if Wesley tries to bench another Pokemon, you leave yourself that option to maybe take a boss's orders knockout on that and then try to take your last 3 prize cards on something like the Duraludon VMAX. But interestingly enough as well, going to go ahead and accelerate some more energy onto this Arceus. And this could be a smart play as well, because it means that if you could somehow remove the double turbo energy by retreating or getting in the discard pile somehow, this Arceus can start to damage and get through that Skyscraper ability.
Yeah, it's sneak that double turbo energy off when nobody's looking, and you're right back where you need to be. And that's exactly where you are with cards potentially like Escape Rope or any switching effect, really.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the fact that Ian probably, as you said earlier, understanding how a deck works is so important. Understanding that, hey, my opponent probably wants to move energy off, play Cheryl, move energy back on, and swing. And understanding that, hey, I should probably go after this Bronzong because the moving energy part does not work without the Bronzong being in play.
Yeah, and of course, Wesley's thinking about that in his deck list. We see that 2/2 Zoroark line. So if these Pokemon were ever to default, he's probably going to find a way to sneak them back onto the board.
Absolutely. It looks like we are going to see an Ultra Ball grab Bidoof. Of course, a consistent card, able to grab any Pokemon at all. And we are going to see the Marnie as well get played. So Ian wasn't really playing many supporters, kind of had to commit to that Inteleon to grab the pieces to put together that boss play. can't be too upset. I'm sure would like to get some more Sobble down into play, and even gets a training core for his troubles.
Yeah, that's not bad. Being able to continue to start chaining things together, especially when you're facing down this big monster on the other side of the board, you gotta keep finding those cards.
Looks like eyeing up potentially playing the Ultra Ball in hand. Has a barrel already, so we'll be able to fill the hand up next turn, as that Bidoof did hit the play at the beginning of this turn. I have to imagine you want to establish another Bronzong, or we haven't even talked about this yet. There is like 2/2 Zoroark line in this deck.
Yeah, that's going to be a really sneaky way to continue to find that answer and move those energy cards. You can just switch them out and get yourself rolling again. So Ian's strategy of just removing this whatever switching Pokemon there is, that's not going to be the answer. You're going to have to chain together multiple Boss's Orders while you're getting hit for 220 damage over and over again.
Looks like we will see the G-Max Pulverization. 220 damage goes through all effects on the active. Very solid attack for 3 energy, what you'd expect on a staple VMAX Pokemon. Released all the way back. It feels like a while, but it really has been back in the Evolving Skies format as Starbirth being utilized for Ian. Going to be able to search out any 2 cards out of the deck, especially to combat maybe the inconsistencies of the Marnie. And I like this play. How do you remove energies off of a Pokemon? Retreating it. Can you switch back in? Scoop up Net's a card, and it can work perfectly here.
Yeah, it's a very sneaky way to assist yourself and get some chip damage onto this Duraludon. The problem is that Zorua is on the board, so you already know Ian's going to put these pieces together. If Wesley has the cards, he's going to be able to move these energies, and this damage could potentially go to the wayside.
Absolutely. So we will see those pieces get grabbed, understanding the line that Ian needs to take, as it looks like a Scoop Up Net and one other card. We'll have to reveal that, though, off of Shady Dealing. So we'll get a closer peek at exactly what was grabbed, as it looks like it was the Sobble and the Scoop Up Net. So actually deciding to not retreat here before playing that, and is going to take the play of continuously bringing up these Pokemon that could become a Bronzong, this time the Zorua. And Ian's counts here as well, we haven't really had a chance to go over as much, is playing 2 Boss's Orders in combination with a Pal Pad, so there could be the potential here that Ian tries to play something like 4 Boss's Orders to try to play around that. But I feel like even with that, at some point or not, you're going to have to confront the beast that is Duraludon VMAX.
Yeah, and it looks like with this strategy, Ian's probably going to do that with a Galarian Moltres. He's got a multiple of those, and if he can get that in combination with the Clara, then we could see that Pokemon sneaking in and doing decent damage. Not going to be a one-hit knockout because Duraludon is a big guy, but of course, getting that damage down is going to be very clean, and if you can continue to make Wesley miss out on this energy switching, that's how you make this Cheryl basically useless.
Yeah, very smart line, Ian, trying to play the exact prize game, and that's going to be perfect.
Oh.
But Clara going to get back that 1/1 Zoroark line, and now at this point, Ian was like, please, at this point, you've already committed so many resources to get down pieces to become Bronzong. Can you just not have it? But another recovery piece for Wesley, and draws into some even cooler cards, has another Aurora Energy to thin out another card from the hand. Looks like eyeing up that Professor's Research, and you see it already, the Cheryl's in hand for next turn. This could be a scary spot for Ian, and especially when Wesley's about to go down to just 2 prize cards left. Almost anything that comes down into play can be knocked out by that G-Max Pulverization. Clock is on Ian to figure something out here.
Yeah, who wins, Giant Tower or 2 Sad Boys? Because I'm trying to figure it out.
Absolutely. Can become maybe not as Sad Boys if they evolve, but definitely not your powerful attackers you want powered up. The Galarian Moltres will be dealing 220 damage this turn, or excuse me, 170 damage this turn because of the, or my bad, 220 because of the 4 prize cards taken. 270 maximum. Unfortunately, can't hit if 6 prizes are taken because the game would be over. But
you can do it. It's just in real bad taste.
yeah, that wouldn't work out too well, I'm sure. But speaking of which, Drizzle going to come out to play Shady Dealings. No stranger to what this does if you've been watching the stream. You're going to be able to grab any trainer card out of the deck. Have to assume you need to start putting these pieces together. Looking at the attacking options, a lot of these attackers require the use of that Trinity Nova to power up these Pokemon. We haven't really talked about Medicham, but it could be useful, but the fact that there is not a Inteleon out that can quick shooting this turn makes it so difficult for Medicham to really put in work.
Yeah, you could see a world where Ian does have multiple Sobble, gets his accelerated energies by way of the Arceus, and then eventually gets to set up quick shooting Inteleon, start working on cards like Zorua, and then combinations start to open up. That was not possible this game. There was only one bench space basically used the entire time by Ian, and now he's in this spot where he's just continuing to try to find some attacker that can go up against this Duraludon VMAX, and it's always going to end up being just a little bit short.
Yeah, I feel like putting a 2-price Pokemon in play almost spells disaster at this point.
That's a no bueno.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
I don't think we like that there for sure. Interestingly enough, going to go ahead and attach the air balloon to that active Sobble. Was able to fulfill the retreat cost already with that one Darkness Energy, and the second Shady Dealings will come into play. Could potentially grab something like a Quick Ball to grab out the Galarian Moltres. I don't know if there is a search option already, but lots of options, lots of lines. And if the game does go another turn, that means powerful Inteleon cards like that Quick Shooting Inteleon, like that Shady Dealings Inteleon could come into play, and that could spell trouble for Wesley for sure.
Yep. See the level ball going for the Sobble. So thinking about, all right, well, if this does last a couple turns, I will have options by way of my Drizzile, my Scoop Up Nets, and getting more cards when I need to chain them together, but need to see some relevant attacker this turn, or you would think that Ian's in a bad place.
There's a line that I think Ian may be going for of not attacking at all this turn, trying to keep the double Drizzile alive, and then trying to go for a double quick shooting play potentially. Malevolent Charge, the Fiery Wrath, 270 Choice Belt, plus double ping. Theoretically is 340, but besides that, it feels like if your opponent has the option to get a Cheryl, the game is pretty much over at that point.
Yeah, that does make it tricky, but you know, you have to be thinking about what potentially could help here. And oh my goodness, it's just going to be Sobble. Was there no heads? No!
No, it did 0.
Double spin for the chip damage was going to be the move.
That was so smart as well. You put the 40 on there, and now Malevolent, you just need one quick shooting in order to do that. You force your opponent to utilize a Cheryl this turn and not put any pressure on the Drizziles. So unfortunate, even one heads there would have been such a big deal.
Yeah, he found the lines, but I think Wesley still had the answer in hand, has the Cheryl already, so would have been able to work around that. But man, that would have been so sweet if we got to see Ian figure it out.
Absolutely. That would have been, that was a lineup play I didn't see for sure. I didn't see that at all.
You know, everyone likes keep calling, but every once in a while, you got to sneak in that spin.
A spin to win for sure. And let's have the Cheryl. It looks like going to go ahead and grab the Zoroark off of the Evolution Instance. I believe there was already one in hand, so I don't know if that Evolution Instance, I may have actually just thinned out the deck, or thinned out the hand rather. A lot of unplayable pieces there. Looks like just going to be able to draw one card to Bronzong, and we're just going to see the knockout. There is a world here. If that Choice Belt wasn't prized, that's the problem. Because the Choice Belt is in the prizes, there's no option here for Ian, I believe, to get to where he needs to. Is playing something like the Galarian Zigzagoon, though, so I guess it is theoretically possible. We'll have to see if Ian has the pieces. He's a mastermind with this deck, very experienced. He knows how to put this together if there is a way or an option.
Yeah, and I think he's going to see that by looking through his deck right now. Just, is there any possible way for me to hit 330? And I think just because of that Choice Belt, that's going to throw the math off a little too much. And Ian's got to be thinking about time at this point. Yeah, he's able to play very fast, and we've seen that before on stream. He can get the ball rolling, got to pick up the cards when it's time, and it looks like he found that.
Yeah, Choice Belt being prized there could have actually been a huge deal in closing that game out. So we see even how dominating it was there for Wesley to get the ball rolling, get the turn 3 Duraludon out, threaten the heals, get Bronze set up, and Ian was still pretty close to end things out. Wesley going to go up 1-0. Non-dominating fashion, though. That was definitely a nail-biter close there at the end.
So we didn't see any damage hit a Duraludon VMAX that entire game.
Yeah.
That is not the recipe to take this deck out, but you can't fault Ian because he was finding lines that would have potentially eyed that up. And he kept working, trying to take out those assisting Pokemon, those helper friends. And if you can get rid of those, you're going to be in a good spot. Wesley's deck is a little bit light on those Pokemon at times, and is really dependent on finding them off of the Professor's Research or the Beaver Roll. And if he doesn't find them in the right spot, Ian's just going to be able to put that big damage on. We'll see if he's able to do that in Game 2.
Absolutely. As things get kicked off, got about 20 minutes left in this game. Plenty of time to play 2 games of the Pokemon trading card game currently. 30 minutes left, 20 through so far, so still a good amount of time. I have to imagine if you're Ian going into this, do you feel like the strategy was there in game one? There was just some unfortunate prizing, or do you maybe try to switch things up and start actually dealing damage to this Duraludon?
Well, I think he didn't get his ideal starter in that Galarian Moltres, but that is a Pokemon that you would like to get some decent damage in on potentially a Duraludon. So that would have been nice. Quick shooting at the top is not nice. That is definitely a way that you start to mess with the math on a Duraludon VMAX.
That is not good at all. Maybe one of the most key and crucial cards in this matchup. Prized for Ian at the top of the prizes too, so very unlikely that gets grabbed. As Wesley looks like taking a few mulligans, so that will be a lot better here for Ian. You're going to be going first, most likely, getting things started. A lot of this I also think depends on how strong Wesley starts out the gate. This deck can be a little clunky at times. You have no way to search out your Aurora energies. You just got to kind of draw into them and hope you find them. A lot of what we see in this format is energy search to grab the proper energy or Starbirth to grab the piece you need. Very different throughout the game, I feel like, that was played years ago, where it's kind of like, oh, you're just drawing cards with Shaman, you're just drawing cards with Sycamore or whatever, and you're just going to kind of find it if you find it.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a slower paced game of Pokemon, and I think that that's something Wesley's going to need to account for as well. If this game, too, doesn't look clean for him, well, he's just never going to play Metagross ever, I guess. But if this doesn't look good for him, you got to start thinking, how much time do I need to win a game 3? Because it took 20 minutes, and that was probably your best start. That was a really strong game from him.
It looks like Ian just starting off with, again, no Sobble in play turn one. Just has to attach to that Arceus and pass a turn. Not even going to get the bad news about that quick shooting Inteleon being prized. As things starting off with a quick ball. Interestingly enough, getting rid of the Aurora Energy, so might have some powerful cards in that hand besides that.
Yeah, I think I saw another Aurora Energy potentially, but this is a problem when you're playing all of these discarding effects early on. If you don't have the answer already in something that can start to build your hand back up, you just limit those resources early on.
Looks like eyeing through the deck. Prize checking, a very important skill in the Pokemon trading card game. We're going to see more and more of it as we progress through these rounds. These players are at these top tables for a reason. It's not by sheer luck. They know how to paddle these decks. They know how to play the game. And that is going to be an important skill that they have been using and will continue to use throughout Pokemon. As just checking through to make sure, I'm sure we'll start to see Duraludons get grabbed. Maybe Metagross. Hey, I'd love to see Metagross VMAX come into play. That is such a quirky and interesting card.
Yeah, no, it's certainly fun. I think it would have to wait until game 3 at this point, if there were to be one. And Wesley is going to just try to figure out what's the best way to go about this. And yeah, I think double Bidoof is going to be pretty clean. You just make sure that you get some cards drawn in the future. One of these is likely to hit the discard pile soon by way of potentially Arceus V-Star soon.
Absolutely. It looks like we are going to see the Bidoof get grabbed off of the Quick Ball. It looks like Ultra Ball as well. Going to go ahead and get rid of that Cheryl. Not going to have access to that for now. But again, there are plenty of ways to consistently get that card back from the discard pile. So that will be an option later on. It looks like we will finally see that Duraludon get down. Also has a great ability as well in that Hard Coat. Prevents it from being within math range of something like, oh, wow, look at that research.
I didn't catch all that, but it's probably a lot of good cards.
Clara, Raihan, we're going to see a little bit of Boss, Clara, Raihan, double Drizzile. No. That is so unfortunate, but interestingly enough, opting to really value these last two cards in hand. Could have had that Aurora Energy that first turn, but that's kind of one of the downsides of Aurora in that case, requiring to discard a card. You really don't want to discard those last two remaining pieces, but Starbirth here, going to guarantee the double Turbo Energy. We'll start taking some knockouts. So you're Ian, you got to hope that you can at least put on enough aggression fast enough to keep yourself in this game.
Yeah, finally finds a Sobble for himself, going to be able to maybe get to those remaining Drizzile in the deck, but and another Quick Ball too. So yeah, maybe you're gonna have to see those scoop up nets used to find cards instead of set up damage combos. But at this point, you got to do what you got to do, and this is pretty strong. You're gonna remove this this Bidoof now, and there's potential to remove the next B-Barrel as well, and just get rid of all this.
So we are going to see the Trinity Nova take the knockout on the Bidoof. 2 energy accelerated out of the deck. This action will be on Wesley. We'll have to see what cards are available to work with this turn. Solid pieces. Has Duraludon VMAX. Has the evolution incense to find the barrel. As Ian will go and take the prize, but it's not the important one. You really want to see that quick shooting Inteleon.
Yeah. I think we do see the Aurora Energy as the last card remaining for Wesley, so that's pretty strong, being that he already is down 2. He's going to need to get that stuck onto the board and keep moving it around.
Absolutely. We do see that the barrel grabbed off of the Evolution Incense. Key ability in this deck and in a lot of decks right now, Industrious Incisors to fill the hand up to 5. We've seen it time and time again. The last one in Breakthrough with that Octillery. I've announced Abyssal Hand plenty of times throughout my Pokemon trading card game career.
Yeah, it's very strong to get all these cards down, and we're already seeing now Wesley trying to put together everything, and I think this hand is not the greatest, especially if this Bibarel were to fall on the following turn, because he's just got that Zorua and a couple cards left now.
Yeah, the hand is not looking too strong. Looks like a Palpad, a Cheryl, and that Aurora Energy, and you really don't want to discard any of those 2 pieces. I guess with Palpad, you could get the Cheryl back into the deck. You are playing a lot of those, so you can do that. But the fact that I think that like the big red flag that I'm seeing, the more that I'm like understanding how this deck works and how it functions, is you are a manual attachment deck. You are trying to power up in 3 turns. You don't have any Raihan gimmicks, any Metal Saucer gimmicks. You are very slow, and with the ability like Skyscraper, it makes the deck possible that it can be slow. But sometimes, even against a deck like Arceus, Trinity Nova with 3 energies the following turn that are all basics is completely possible, and Ian getting things kicked off right away. That Ultra Ball most likely, definitely going to grab a Drizzile.
Yeah, Drizzile into Boss's orders, taking out the Bibarel seems like an incredible play here. You put Wesley on that clock immediately, needs to find an answer to continue drawing cards, or he's just going to be a lame duck sitting there with his Duraludon VMAX with no energies attached. And that's when you'd see Wesley really have to make a decision. He's got to start thinking, how much time do I need to win? And here we go. Oh, wow, even going after the Zorua, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I think with no supporter played there, maybe going after Bibarel could have been a better tell. Like you said, I like that line, but at the same time, both Pokemon are going to provide usage for Wesley at some point during the game. As I don't even think that Aurora Energy came down either that turn, so maybe expecting this Arceus to go aggressive for a Cheryl play and then to attach the energy the turn after. So
yeah, no, it seems fair. You saw 2 Drizzile hitting the discard pile, so you're thinking, oh, cool, I'll just let him hit into me and I'll Cheryl and then I'll get the ball rolling. But no, it's not how it worked. But Wesley is going to have access to some cards with that Bibarel, so that's going to be the saving grace over and over again. And how many of these Boss's orders does Ian have? Is he going to be able to chain any more together, or is he going to have to start working on this Duraludon VMAX?
That is going to be the question indeed. Was able to also get that Dark Energy down onto that Arceus V the previous turn, so that is ready to go the following turn if Ian can find another Arceus V star. As we do see the Palpad shuffle 2 Cheryl back into the deck, and this Industrious Incisors, we'll have to see what this grabs. Does find a Bronzor. Would have been nice to have that. Zorua still in play, as we do see a Zoroark was found there off the Industrious Incisors, but not much else.
I think we're going to go see that Zorua as well. This is a pretty big turn now. Being able to get that Pokemon down and just having multiple options would be so clean, and yes, going to give himself that opportunity. We already know that the Zoroark is in hand, so if a card like Bibarel were to hit the discard pile, could potentially sneak that back into play, could continue to work on if that Bronze were to be knocked out, so having that option there is so clean.
Yeah, and the interesting thing as well is if you're Ian, you maybe consider, oh, his hand is weak. He just used Industrious Scissors, only Boss's orders is up, but all you do is evolve into Zoroark, utilize his ability to then become a Bibarel, and it's like nothing happened essentially.
I'm back.
I'm back.
Well,
absolutely.
It will be tricky for Ian. He needs to use his Palpad because 2 Boss's orders are already in the discard pile. And I don't know if that was part of that horrible chain of cards he had to throw away. I don't think it was. So we could potentially see some of that happening.
We are going to now see that Arceus retreat. We'll have to see if Ian has a way to find that Arceus V-Star. And considering potentially just utilizing that, so we're actually going to see the Power Edge instead. It's setting up for a 2-hit knockout potentially as well. So the damage is still relevant, but this is going to be a big turn for Wesley. Has the last card in hand, I believe, is another Palpad, but there is not any supporters. No, actually a Manaphy. I mean, you could technically play it down. It's not going to provide much uses in this matchup. If anything, it could be detrimental because Yogaloop and Medicham as a card. Ian hasn't revealed that yet.
Yeah, and you also think of all of the discarding effects that Wesley has. It might just be nice to have a card to discard at some point, but hey, I can't blame him for wanting to see 5 cards here.
See if there's a Cheryl. Pokegear does have the Bronzong. Could potentially try to find that off of the Pokegear. Can thin the deck out a little bit too with the Evolution Incense, as we will see that get played. Plenty of Evolution Pokemon to grab. Looking through the deck to see how many Cheryl I see. 1, 2. I have to double check and see what was prized. It looks like 1 copy of Cheryl was prized, so 3 in the deck left. So has plenty of options to look through, as we are going to see the Evolution Incense. It looks like not going to actually go ahead and grab anything. Wants to consider drawing more cards next turn off of Industrious and Scissors, continuing this trend of, I'm not doing much, but hey, it's something at least.
Yeah, no, it's a little better than what you got. And we are going to look. We see multiple research. There is the Cheryl, though. 2 of them.
Finds 2 copies of Cheryl. There it is, that beautiful full art Cheryl. Nice to see some of these trainers from the Sinnoh region come back on some cool new artworks. Very reminiscent of the other healing cards that we have seen throughout the Pokemon trading card game. Healing all damage from your evolution Pokemon, but it does require you to discard your energy. But if you use Metal Transfer to move your energies off and then utilize Cheryl, you can then Metal Transfer energies back onto the Duraludon. The one key piece missed, though, is it just delays the turn again because there is no attachment again for Wesley.
Yeah, and that was big, and you know that he's going to be able to chain these Cheryl over and over again by way of Palpad, but you just keep asking yourself to find those cards, and you're not getting anywhere. And right now we see that Ian would be completely content with attacking with his Arceus V one more time and putting Wesley in the exact same position.
Absolutely. Looks like Clara, the grab off of the Shady Dealings Drizzile. Does have another Sobble as well. We'll play that down. Can start getting these powerful Pokemon. One interesting thing about Ian's list, only 2 copies of Scoop Up Net. We see a lot of these lists are running 3 copies, some even 4 copies depending. You don't really get to reutilize your chains as much for your Inteleons. You're kind of evolving up. Maybe once or twice you're scooping up, especially when you're allotting Zigzagoon as well for a potential Scoop Up Net target. It's another way to use that card. Feels like the counts are low, but that's kind of what happens in this format. I feel like when I'm deck building, everything feels so tight space-wise. You kind of want to fit so much in, especially in a toolbox-style deck like this.
Yeah, and Ian's usually, I think he's taken a nod to just how fast the format is. When you're playing against decks like Mew, you're not going to have 5 turns where you could use a Scoop Up Net on an Inteleon, bounce cards around, and do those kind of things. You're usually playing these really fast turns and these fast games, and instead he's playing against Wesley, who wants to play at least 15 turns in a game. So it's a completely different way to go about the game, and we see that Ian might not be equipped for that.
We are going to see Marnie be played, so the Duraludon will not be healing this turn. But the awesome thing about Metal Transfer 2 is it kind of acts as like a pre-EXP share as well, where if you kind of understand your Duraludon most likely going to get knocked out, you can move your energy over to another Pokemon that you want to keep up. And then at some point, if you can reestablish Metal Transfer, it's like the energy was there all along.
Yeah, no, this is very clean. Going to probably see these energies bouncing around, and you just got to find the answer later on. And if we do see Wesley find that Duraludon V this turn, ideally that'd be the best case scenario. Then would be able to have a big attacker on the following turn. Instead, it looks like that's not going to be the case, and that's a little trickier.
Looks like was considering utilizing the Quick Ball to discard Bronzor, but understands how important it is to be able to continuously chain out these Bronzongs. As interestingly enough, we're going to see the energy get moved onto the active and passed. What do you think about that?
He doesn't think he's going to get knocked out, and if he does, he wants to move to Game 3 anyways. So we'll see if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through logistically what makes sense. I guess if you're scared of your Bronzong getting knocked out, but you can just bring it back with Zoroark at that point, and if you're afraid of losing your Draw Engine, you can bring that back with Zoroark. If the Zoroark gets knocked out, both Pokemon still exist.
I mean, it's a fair nod to if this Duraludon were to fall, I'm going to lose anyways, so I might as well just make you have it. And Ian hasn't proved it yet.
No, has not proved it. Does have the Sobble. Has access to potentially 2 Shady Dealings this turn. That of the Inteleon, which we know is in the deck, as well as the Drizzile as well. But I don't know what pieces are in the deck. It looks like has the Air Balloon, can go ahead and retreat. But the fact that he's considering this play makes it very skeptical that this option is available. This is such a scary position. Doesn't even have a training court. Wow.
It makes so much sense if you're Wesley, because if you don't have that all the energies on the Duraludon VMAX, your opponent could potentially make that boss's orders play, knock out a Pokemon that you had that energy on, and slow you down a turn. So if you see that this Pokemon is going to be your everything, you might as well just commit all the way.
And this is going to be a big turn for Wesley. Can Wesley find another Cheryl as well as an energy card to apply pressure and start taking hits? You need to heal this damage off. Ian is just an energy card away from being able to get a knockout, go down to 1 prize card, and from there, the game is pretty much wrapped up as we're going to see the energies move already, and has the Cheryl just looking for the energy card now to put himself in an excellent spot.
Industrious Incisors.
Here we go. Finds the... No, wow. Has Evolution Incense, so theoretically, you can maybe find a way to discard of a barrel and then utilize Zoroark, but I don't know if that option is available for Wesley.
I mean, you already got the second Bronzong down. You have to feel pretty good about what this Zoroark could potentially turn into with that that bi-barrel option, but I don't see a discarding effect. So, yeah, it looks like this is just going to be the turn. Big pass.
An opening for Ian. We'll have to see what the top deck is. Quick Ball. Potentially going to grab, ooh, looks like eyeing up the Galarian Zigzagoon. Not necessarily relevant for math just quite yet, but could potentially down the line. Especially if that quick shooting for some reason gets grabbed. So looks like we'll just go ahead and thin the deck out, but I don't know if there's any options. And no, doesn't have the option. Just going to go ahead and pass things over. Wesley top decks the Metal Energy, can now start to swing with that G-Max Pulverization.
Yeah, this is brutal. We know that Ian only has those 7 basic energies. He's not finding them at the right times, and he doesn't have the other Arceus V-Star available, so he's not getting the relevant damage that he wants to. Doesn't think he can afford to retreat in a situation like this. So we are going to see Duraludon VMAX starting to put some big damage in play, finally, for the first time in Game 2.
And there we see it, G-Max Pulverization, 220 damage onto this Arceus V-Star. What is the top deck for Ian? It's an Evolution Incense.
Oh, that's so huge.
That is a big-time top deck. It means that Ian can keep himself in this game by finding an access to an energy card potentially, or even better, an Arceus V-Star for that benched Arceus to keep it alive, up, and running. But again, now it's just on Wesley. If we just see Cheryl chains over and over again, things can get tough for Ian.
Yeah, I see the energy switch potentially as an option. It's a great way to make sure that you get some damage down onto the Duraludon VMAX, but you got to start thinking about who's going to be attacking next, and it starts to get a little sketchy from this point forward. You still just have that Arceus V available, and 130 is okay, but you have to have a big guy to back that up.
Absolutely, as it looks like eyeing up Clara and Scoop Up Net, you could retreat this Arceus, guaranteed get the energy back. And it looks like actually eyeing up to get those Drizziles back that had been lost earlier on, can start evolving those up. Down to, I believe, 1 Scoop Up Net left. There it is, going to go ahead and pick up that Inteleon, rebench Sobble. We're going to start to see some classic Drizzile chaining. Yeah,
no, it's always nice to have these options available to you, and that's why, of course, when you're speaking about those scoop-up nets, that is so clutch. But yeah, Palpad, going to be a big piece here. Going to need the Clara so that you can continue to find these energies that are going to be hitting the discard pile, and Raihan seems like a pretty solid choice. I was also thinking about maybe you want to find that boss's orders, but honestly, at this point, you know you're going to have to work through Duraludon, and your opponent's just going to give you one of these one-price Pokemon at the end of the game.
Ian seems to have it routed out to some extent. We'll have to at least apply some more pressure with something that's not knocked out directly. The Dark Energy does work as well. You know this Arceus is going to fall at some point, and we are going to see the Trinity Nova dealing 200 damage, no double turbo on, so the full effect. And it's just on to Wesley at this point. How many turns in a row can Wesley find Cheryl, move the energies off, heal, move them back on, rinse, and repeat?
Well, when you play 4 Cheryl and you play 3 Palpad and you play all of those Pokegear, you think he's going to figure it out. We'll see if this is in the cards, and I think I do see that big full art there for Cheryl.
Yeah, easy for us. It makes it easy to see when Wesley's got it. As there it is, the Cheryl taking all the dice off, pushing them aside, healing all damage from that Duraludon VMAX. The card that makes this deck incredible. It's so interesting to think that this concept is so smart. You just start turboing through your deck every turn you're drawing. You can afford to play a lot of these cards that don't progress your board state. You're not drawing cards, you're not getting energies, but the fact that your draw engine is just consistent every turn, it's not like you need to evolve like a Drizzile line or you get that once per turn effect like Crobat. It ends up working out really well, as we're going to see the knockout with G-Max Pulverization. Training Court going to start things off here for Ian with that Drizzile to start the turn off. So we'll have access to the Shady Dealings Inteleon as well as that other Drizzile did evolve the previous turn. So lots of options to find cards. We know the Raihan did come back as well, so that could be a potential grab. As Wesley progresses through, Galarian Moltres is going to be dealing more and more damage as well. But without that quick shooting Inteleon, that big last turn knockout play or line, it just isn't possible.
Yeah, and we're going to see Ian trying to figure out when the opportunity is available. Can I get these Pokemon into play? It looks like it's not lined up just yet to happen. Maybe going to work towards that on the following turn. This Arceus V-Star is big enough to take one of these hits for 220 damage, but afterwards, definitely going to need those Pokemon ready to go.
Yeah, not playing any healing cards on Ian's side for himself, but looks like we are going to see the Trinity Nova, and this is another big Pokegear.
Is there even enough left?
Maybe at 7 cards at this point. It looks like drawing the entire deck off Pokegear. And do we see the Cheryl? Ooh,
there's a Palpad.
I mean, there's a Palpad, but look at how many supporter cards are in that hand. There's 5 supporters. You can't thin those supporters out.
Wow.
I'm trying to see. There is an Ultra Ball. That's the Pokegear cards.
Yes, yeah.
That's Pokegear cards. I think I may have spotted one more Ultra Ball in the hand. It just, again, comes down to, well, you can't research through your deck. You're going to have 0 cards in deck. You'll lose the game from deck out.
Yeah, it's got to be double bi-barrel plays.
I mean, this play is fine. You could Bird Keeper and understand that that Ian has no more Boss's Orders left.
Yes.
And that could work out because you have extra energy slowly built up on your Duraludon. But it feels sort of sketchy sometimes to not be able to find the piece. We're going to see this switch into the Zoroark. Drawing 3 cards. Does find the Palpad, though. That's a big grab to be able to put 2 of these Cheryls back. But from that point, what are we going to see? Are we going to see the Zoroark attack, Kyle?
I'm not ready for that. But yeah, it looks like that is going to be the play here. Honestly, it makes a lot of sense because you don't need 5 energies for your Duraludon. You might as well soften up this Arceus and get yourself ready for a knockout.
What a smart play here from Wesley. It's sort of one of those instances where you forget about an attack that it's not the best attack, it's mediocre, but when you're looking at the Zoroark, you're like, oh wow, the Phantom Transformation is what makes this card so unique. 70 damage is still not bad, but Ian is going to just go ahead and take this knockout right away. It's still on Wesley to find this Cheryl. There was no Cheryl off the bat, none left in deck. And the problem with this hand is I don't think there's any way to thin this down to less than 5 cards. You either keep bringing up these 1-price Pokemon and slowly find it, but at that point, things just kind of get tough.
There's Level Ball, there's a Duraludon that you can bench, there's a Palpad that you can play, there's an energy that you can drop. I think you can draw 1 card, and you can put 2 Cheryl in your deck. It's Cheryl in your deck, so it could maybe happen?
No, but the Zoroark top deck there, too. It's one
is that
less.
too much? Is that too much? Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, we're going to find out really quickly. Wesley's going to try to map it out. We see, is it 7 or 8 in hand? That's the kicker.
I believe there's 4 supporters still. So that's 4 cards that can't be thinned at minimum.
It's 8. Yeah,
yeah.
Eight's a problem. You can play 3 of these cards, but you can't get that last one out.
And you can't. And with Palpad as well, you do also put yourself now on a 3-turn clock. You'll have 3 more turns if Ian can kind of dance around these Pokemon.
Scoops!
And wow, no, he scoops it up.
Yeah, just wasn't going to have enough turns to get the game won. And understands that, and yeah, there's just not enough cards to play the game anymore. And that's wild because there's not a lot of time left, and you'd think that Wesley would be able to easily lock this up if he had plenty more time, but he's got like 8 minutes to figure this out.
8 minutes with a deck that takes 20-minute games on average to close things out as we're going into Game 3. 8 minutes left in this round. 1-1 apiece. If you're Ian here, this has not felt like the best matchup whatsoever. If you're looking at it for what it's worth and for what it is, a match point, a tie at this position wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of players that are friends that run into each other at these opportunities, they just go, hey, we got a really good shot at making cut if we just take a break right here, give ourselves some well-deserved rest, and then look forward to these next three rounds.
Absolutely. Have to imagine these players are getting into it. Look at that. 40 seconds and we're already ready. We're drawing opening hands. We're getting ready to go. Both players understand that a win here would be crucial into securing a spot into the day 2 and potentially top cut as your opening as a strong record. But we see how important it is. The cards are going out for Ian in this opening hand. Interesting indeed, note a few Metal Energy prized will only have access to the remaining 2 that are left, or 3, excuse me, that are left. We saw the Bird Keeper be not as useful, but that was also the prize cards. Ian starting things off with mulligans. It's just more time wasted. It's more cards for Wesley. Not what you want to see.
Yeah, and he understands that. Both these players also really strong spirit of the game, just being able to play as fast as they can. But man, does not help when the deck doesn't give you a starting Pokemon, because this is not time that you have to waste. And 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, you're going to run out.
Yeah, and the opening for Wesley, it was so big in that first game, had access to be able to get that G-Max pulverization off super quickly, and not having as many cards made a big deal in the second game. Slow starts are what Ian needs, and the more cards you give your opponent, the more likely it is that they have that explosive turn 1 with all the basics into play, everything they need, as finally Ian will be able to find a basic Pokemon. These are going to be big prizes. Such unfortunate prizes in game 1-2. Prizes the choice ball again!
Oh, yeah, that's not clean, and of course, another double turbo down as well. Not going to be the greatest, but does find the Arceus V to start these things off. So we'll see. And hey, looky there, it's your best friend.
It's Metagross V, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting to note, this like Rapid Strike Pokemon. I just found that pretty cool. I didn't know it was a Rapid Strike Pokemon until like 10 minutes. And I just kind of loses your sight a little bit. But
do you think him and Sobble are boys and they search each other out from time to time?
They've had some talks here and there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're in the links. But regardless, starting things off with a quick ball, pitching and Professor's Research shows the strength of the hand right off the bat. I'm sure we'll see Duraludon get grabbed, or because you understand the Duraludon with the ability that allows it to take less damage, you can comfortably take the first turn to prioritize getting these setup targets, and then understanding your Duraludon's not attacking till turn 3. You have 2 turns to evolve it at that point. It's a lot of time to work with.
Yeah, as long as the energies come down along with that, I think that's the big key, because you can get all of these setup Pokemon, but if you don't have the energies down, you are not going to attack fast enough to clean up a game like this. You can absolutely not lose a game like this, but you are not going to win without the energy cards.
I have to take a double check at Wesley's hand, but I think I saw like 6 supporter cards in that hand.
I saw the Aurora energy, but yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, that's what the deck does, though. It's just clunky madness that ends up working.
We do see the energy go to the Metagross. This is possibility to start attacking soon. Actions on Ian. What cards are there to work with? Evolution Incense to search the deck out. Not a piece that shows a strong hand to start things out on the first turn. Can at minimum grab the Arceus V-Star. This Arceus is not in threat of being knocked out, but a turn 2 Metagross VMAX will deal 100 damage and set up the following turn for a 250 damage hit for each turn that the attack is announced.
Right, and that is something that you need to be worried about, especially if you're Ian. And yeah, you can look through this opening deck search with this opening Evolution Incense, but if you do not have any follow-up, you are going to be in for a world of pain.
Well, grabbing nothing off of that, so there must be an Arceus V-Star already in the hand.
Or maybe a research and just go.
Mm-hmm. Let's have the Dark Energy, Galarian, Moltres, and wow, yeah, passing things over. Here's the opening for Wesley. Pokegear to start things off. Just going to be looking for the deck. Whatever supporter cards are an option. Only one Cheryl. I believe we saw research in that hand, so just going to go ahead and opt to take none. No reason to just pitch more cards you're going to need later on in the game, but later on is a strong word.
I was going to say, in a matchup like this, I kind of want to discard the Cheryl.
Maybe,
I got 3 minutes to win a game. I got to go. But it makes sense. There's already 2 in the discard, so fair enough.
Yeah, 2 hitting the discard pile. Does find the energy. I don't know if I see a VMAX. Has the Ultra Ball. Okay. Has the Ultra Ball, so can get out the Metagross VMAX. First time seeing Metagross VMAX, I believe, on stream at any event for the Brilliant Stars format. For that matter, I think I haven't seen it over Players' Cup either. It's finally getting its spotlight, and what a cool Pokemon, too. You got to love Metagross.
Yeah, this is going to be wild. And, of course, Wesley right now needs to be thinking about the pace right now. You have the Ultra Ball. You can get your Metagross. You can get a decent attacker down. You also have a Quick Ball, so you can get some of those relevant support Pokemon into play this turn. And then you have the Research follow-up, so you got to get going right now. You got to get the damage on the board.
Time is of the essence. Ultra Ball fighting any Pokemon, but interestingly enough, eyeing up the Bibarel.
Yeah.
So that is an option potentially to be able to look at drawing some more cards. Card draw is always important. It is the backbone of the Pokemon trading card game. It is what allows decks to function. It is what allows decks to be what they are. The interesting thing, I'm looking at the Metagross V. It does have the Synchro Hammer attack that does 60 plus 90 damage if the Pokemon both have the same amount of energy attached, but we also just see it looks like the Metagross is going to be the grab target instead. I like this play a lot. You have research for the following turn. You only need the draw right now.
Yeah, this is absolutely the play right here, and of course now you find that Bronzor. It's such a strong play. Research for next turn. You just get going, and you really put a threat onto that Arceus V now.
Max Rush going to be the attack of choice. 100 damage, 150 more damage this Pokemon will deal the following turn. We'll bring it up to 250. As long as you keep announcing it, it's just 250 as long as it stays in the active position. But there are some inconsistencies with this card. The fact that if it does go to the bench off something like an Escape Rope or a Boss's Orders, you're now only hitting for 100 damage. So this could be an opening. If Ian can maybe play the Boss's Orders and take out one of these support Pokemon, this could be a big opening, and Starbirth will allow that to be a potential play.
Yep, this is what Ian needed. Of course, we had a little bit of an inkling that this was going to be the play when he Evolution Incensed and failed on the opening turn. Now we do see that Starbirth coming down. We should see a little bit of acceleration.
Oh, and it was actually Zap Traction that was used as well. It looks like 2 cards were grabbed out of the deck as well. So that is a big option. Sometimes it gets oversighted that this attack was to do damage. What do you think of that play to really grab these cards? Because it's going to be punished heavily here by this Marnie.
Yeah, it makes me think that Wesley's playing for the tie instead of the win. The damage seemed like a really important piece there, especially when you already had Professor's Research in hand. You were going to be drawing so many cards. But honestly, he just might have a good idea of how long it takes to actually win a game with his deck. He's the only one who really has the best understanding of it right now, so I can't fault him for it.
Absolutely, we will see the Trinity Nova accelerate some energies. You gotta just go here if you're Ian. Just power through this. You're in a great spot, especially if your opponent cannot find Cheryl. And wow, look at this hand. There's nothing going for Wesley here.
Yeah, that's a big whiff. There's nothing right now. And of course, the Bi-Barrel earlier would have been nice, but it's thinking ahead, thinking I need these hit points and I need to find these cards. Probably put a card like the Bi-Barrel into his hand last turn, but not going to see it anymore because of the Marnie.
And with time winding down, it looks like this will most likely be a draw. Wesley has the cards to put enough Pokemon into play to survive 3+ turns at this point. And it looks like time just announced, and yeah.
They know.
Yeah, and both players just going to understand that there is no win condition for either player at this point. Going to go ahead and extend the hand out. This match will result in a tie, so both players will go ahead and advance to 5-0-1, but still, nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be upset about. You're still undefeated through this event, 5-0-1. You're at 16 match points. You're just a win away from getting into day 2.
Yeah, and both players even continuing to talk after the way that the game went. And it's because that was so riveting. It was so fun to watch both players trying to figure out the puzzle, how hard it is to put that puzzle together, and they almost got there.
Yeah, it was